Hey Cigar Stars family, today we're going to talk about, are Cuban cigars the best cigars in the world? Well, a lot of people would say that's debatable. First of all, some people, they might smoke a Cuban cigar and say, oh, it sucked. But chances are they bought it at a resort beachfront location in the Dominican Republic or in Mexico or in Puerto Rico, Atlantic side, Pacific side of Mexico or Colombia, Cartagena, for example, and chances are they sold you a fake Cuban cigar. When you get one of these vendors, these local beach vendors trying to sell you cohibas as real, listen, if you're trying to do a gracious act of God to one of these local vendors, then go ahead. But 99.9% of the time, they're selling you a fake Cuban. Now, if you ran out of cigars and instead of making that cigar run, trade in that cigar run for just, the comfort, the actual convenience, try to negotiate with him, get the best price for it, because you're just smoking a decent $3 cigar. Young tobacco, not aged, you just want to get something in your palate, hey, go for it. So, but then you have your guys that have smoked real Cubans, and then they're gonna say they're fucking damn good. This Cuban was amazing. However, they're difficult to get. Why? Counterfeiting is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Cuban cigars are part of this multi-billion-dollar counterfeit industry. So, it's going to be a lot of opportunities to get fake cigars. Cuban cigars are illegal in the United States. They're illegal for sale, and they're illegal to actually own, to have. Why? Because of the Cuban embargo that John F. Kennedy imposed on Cuba. I think it was 1961, if I'm not mistaken. So ever since, we haven't been able to do business with Cuba, and the Cuban cigar industry suffered. But at the same time, it become a boom. Like, everyone wants what you can't get. And it happens to be that real Cuban cigars are really good, very tasty, and I totally enjoy them. Now, getting your hands on a Cuban cigar, you got to be very careful. It's like buyer beware. A lot of people in this country, they're going to say, oh, they're selling you real Cubans. Or even if you go abroad, like in Cuba, they sell fake Cubans. In Mexico, they sell fake Cubans. In Colombia, they sell fake Cubans. In Nicaragua, they sell fake Cubans. In Europe, they also sell fake Cubans. Everywhere around the world, they sell fake Cubans. So you have to be extremely careful what tobacconist, what shop you purchase your Cuban from. For example, if you go to London, the Davidoff store owned by the Sahakians, chances are you're gonna get a real Cuban there. These people are passionate about cigars. You have to be extremely careful on when someone is trying to pitch you to sell you a Cuban. You gotta know someone. Or, for example, my wife right now is in Colombia. I looked up the shops, the most notable shops in Colombia, in Medellin, and I got her to buy me some Cubans. Chances are these Cubans are real. And why? Because the cigar shop owner was being really, really stringent and strict on certain purchases. Like, some he wasn't trying to sell individually, some he was, and so forth. And but regardless of the case, still, I'll know once these cigars get here. I've been fortunate enough in Mexico to buy real Cubans from Casa de Habano, which is sanctioned by the government of Cuba. The Cuban government are the ones that can sanction other stores or give the licensing to sell Cubans. So you got to do your research, guys, before you buy a Cuban. So back to Cuban cigars, the best cigars in the world. Again, they're damn good. Once you get your hands on a real Cuban, you're gonna know the difference. And a lot of guys that say that Cubans suck is because they haven't smoked a real Cuban. So keep that in mind. It's difficult to get a Cuban. I repeat, buyer beware. There's people out here, they're just trying to make a buck, and they're so good at buying these counterfeits. I mean, okay, the Asian market, you can buy Cubans. Some of the best Cubans in the world are sold to the Asians, the Chinese, the Japanese. Well, guess what? We know that China is huge on the counterfeit market. So it's easy for them to make all these counterfeit boxes. They get the original boxes, so it's easy for them to counterfeit these boxes. We know Asians are great at counterfeiting products and items. Your Louis bag, for example. You might think you got it at a discount, but it might be fake. Same thing with a Cuban cigar. You think you got a real Cuban, but you essentially got a fake Cuban cigar. And now here you are gauging, our Cuban cigar is the best, trying to make an opinion, but in reality, it's a false opinion because you're smoking a fake Cuban. So again, guys, beware with the with smoking a Cuban cigar. There's a lot of people running around with fake Cubans. Like I saw this guy posting, he was, showing off, I guess, showing off his humidor, his cigar fridge, and he had a bunch of Cubans in there, and I can tell that all of them were fake. Like just from the labels, they were, like you could just tell when something is fake. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy really believes that he's smoking, real Cubans. And it sucks because, now he'll go and make an opinion on Cubans and Cuban cigars and say, oh, these Cuban cigars are not all that. It's not what people, say they are. And it's not fair. So the best cigar is the best cigar that you enjoy the most. That's what it boils down to. Price point, your budget, your palate. That's the best cigar. Cigar aficionados, we have a never-ending search for best bang for your dollar. And we're always happy to introduce a new, cost-effective cigar to one of our buddies to change their palate. Like, oh, I discovered this for you. Like, oh, I see you're smoking that, AJ Fernandez New World. And now you get those kudos, and it's back and forth. That's why, cigar aficionados, we're very sharing. We give cigars to each other, high value cigars, low budget cigars, but low budget meaning in cost. But it doesn't mean that the tobacco, sucks or that it's bad quality tobacco. No, it's just that, the marketing isn't there. The more popular cigar it becomes, or like, supply and demand, the more it's going to cost. And also the attention given to the cigar, because another thing that makes cigars, different price ranges is how you store and age this tobacco. I mean, there's a process, and these storage facilities are huge. Either you own them or you rent them, and that could drive the price up on a cigar. So the more aged the tobacco is, it's a good chance that the price of the cigar is going to go up because of that, to cover at least the expenses. So once again, our Cuban cigars, the best cigars in the world. They're really good if you can get your hands on a real Cuban cigar. Oh, another thing, always remember, cigars are for everyone. Cut, light, and enjoy.